just wanted to go back a little bit to the idea of your supposed poshness and that kind of thing. Is it true? You talk about maybe some myths here. Is it true that Bielsa thought your dad was a billionaire? And how close did you get to going to Harvard? Is that true? That one?
Bielsa didn't think it. It was one of the coaches who's not at Leeds anymore. Okay. When we got promoted, he said that he was like really impressed, and I can't remember the words he actually used, but saying that he was proud of how hard I worked, considering that my dad was like who he was. And I was like, what are you on about? I think he believed, like a lot of other people, that it was something to do with JCB, which is a myth. So there's that one cleared up. What was the other question? Sorry.
About Harvard University. Harvard. Was that close or not?
Yeah, it was. So when I was at school, obviously all my mates are doing their UCAS application, and it was before I signed pro, so I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to get a pro contract. So I had to go through the process as well. But I didn't want to go to university in England, and I thought that if I was going to go to uni, I'd do like a football scholarship over in America. So my dad put feelers out, and the school helped me with that. And I think the first one was University of Connecticut or something like that, got in touch. And then once, obviously, one university got in touch, a few others heard about it, and that was how Harvard kind of came about, and the offer was there. But football was always my first love, if you like. So it sounds weird to say that I turned it down, but I was never really interested.
Thanks, Dave. Next, go to Matt Law, The Telegraph.
Hi, Patrick.
Hi.
It's two questions, but on the same subject, if I may. Mick McCarthy was very clear in the fact that he tried to get you to play for Republic of Ireland, or certainly wanted to talk to you about that. I was wondering whether that ever got close from your point of view. And secondly, on that same subject, you're very clear in how you've always dreamt to play for England, and you've had the sleepless nights. So I just wondered, was there not a temptation on Ireland, because you could be Ireland's Harry Kane, whereas for England maybe you end up being Harry Kane's deputy a lot of the time?
There was a point where I think it was the first season at Leeds where he did get in touch, but I was just coming back from a knee injury, so I was more focused on making sure that my knee was all right and that I could be fit to play the rest of the season for Leeds. But also I felt that because my heart had always been like to play for England, and I'd always dreamt of that, I felt it would be wrong to then go and play for Ireland just because they'd asked me, and just in order to play international football, because if I did that, then I might be keeping someone else out of that Irish team whose dream was set on and whose heart was for playing for Ireland. So I didn't think that would be fair. So I had to kind of stay true to myself, really, and what I wanted to achieve and my dreams, and just work hard until it hopefully happened.
Fair play. Cheers.
Next, go to Dan Kilpatrick, The Standard.
Hi, Patrick. Just to take you back again, you had a really difficult loan spell at Crystal Palace, I think in 2015, which I think was your first experience of the Premier League. And if I remember rightly, you kind of terminated the loan yourself. I just wondered, when you look back now, was that a kind of tough period that you feel almost set you back? Because I think you had a good spell at Middlesbrough the season before that. And how do you kind of reflect on that period now?
Yeah, it probably was a slight setback, but if anything, I probably learned more from it than I realised I actually had to, because I went from playing in Middlesbrough team in the Championship and winning Player of the Year to then thinking that I would just walk into the Premier League and do the same. So I was a little bit naive, and yeah, whilst it did set me back, those kind of hurdles that I had to get over, ultimately, if I didn't get over them then I might have had to do it again at this stage of my career. So it's nothing that I regret. It's just all been like a learning process, and it's taken a while to get to where I wanted to be, but eventually I did.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we've got 3 more to go on Zoom, starting with Andy Dunn of The Mirror.
Congratulations, Patrick. I just want to take you back to what you said earlier about the imprint that Bielsa's had on you. You said, you worked on certain aspects of your game that, you hadn't thought about before. I wonder if you could just elaborate on that. It's about more than just this hard work ethic that you've got there at Leeds?
Yeah,
for you personally?
First and foremost, obviously, the hard work ethic that is kind of instilled in all of us is something that's going to carry us far. Even if, like, we were to leave Leeds today and go to a different team, that on its own would carry you a long way. But I never realised, I've always been like quite a slim guy, but learning more about my nutrition, kind of taking everything a little bit more seriously and the effect that it can have. And then also the way that he's kind of, I wouldn't say I was unfit before, but that he's taken my fitness and the whole squad's fitness to another level, which if you can constantly run at a high tempo and high speed, high intensity, obviously you're going to always have a slight advantage as you go through the 90 minutes. So there's just two things that jump out straight away.
Sally, Matt Dunn from the Express.
Hi, Patrick. Back to your school days again, I'm afraid. It was a rugby school, I believe. I mean, how much pressure were you under to forget all this football nonsense and get a proper education and carry on and study properly? And how much of an answer would an England cap be to anyone who tried to steer you down those lines?
To be honest, no one actually tried to push me down those lines. The school I went to was brilliant. They actually kind of spoke to, when I was at Forest at the time, spoke to Forest and sorted out a timetable that worked so that I wouldn't miss too much school whilst doing my A-levels and still being able to train and play at Forest. I did have to stop playing rugby at about 15, which was probably a good thing because everyone started getting bigger and stronger and it wasn't for me then. But in terms of sticking it to them, that they actually helped more than a lot of people realise.
Next to Dom King of the Mail.
Hi, Patrick. You just said something quite striking in about waiting for international football. You said that you didn't think it was very fair it would be very fair to stand in someone's way. Football's notoriously not fair. So how did you, in those points last season when you heard your name being mentioned for England possibly getting called up and then obviously not getting into squads? Was there ever a regret that you should have, maybe been a bit selfish and followed it, or did you, that sort of generosity to your spirit?
Are you on about the standing in the way of an Irish player?
Yeah. It's just, because people in football tend to look after themselves and they don't really think about others. It's quite a ruthless, selfish industry, and for you to sort of think about other people ahead of yourself is quite striking.
Yeah, I just think that, like, if I went and played for Ireland just in order to be able to play international football, when my dream as a little kid was always to play for England, and somebody else's dream might have always been to play for Ireland, and then I ended up taking that slot just because I felt like the England one might never come, and it might be without sounding disrespectful, the easy option because it's been offered to me, then I don't think that's the right thing to do. And I always believed in myself that I'd get to the England stage. So it wasn't so much just being, I guess, selfless and not standing in someone's way. It was also partly that I believed that eventually I'd get to this level at some point.
Yeah, but and if we can just add, because Peter Crouch said something in his column yesterday. He said he'd spoken to you. I know you did a podcast with him. He said he knew you were worried last year when those squads were being announced and you weren't in anyone. So how did you sort of deal with that worry? Did you ever think time was going to run out?
There was times where I thought maybe it won't happen, but then for a split second, obviously, got to kind of get my head back on track and push towards it. And I always said never give up, even if I ended up getting called up when I was like 36 or to the latter stage of my career. For me, that would be a triumph. So it was just about keep going until the day that I had to hang my boots up. And if I do it I'd do it, and if I didn't, then I know that I'd try my best.
Thanks, Dom. We've had a late hand from our hosts on Thursday, so we'll finish with one from Benci Babchak from the Mzeti Sport in Hungary.
Hello, Patrick. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi. I work for a Hungarian sport newspaper, Nemzeti Sport, and my question would be that since your first appearance for the English national side could be against Hungary on Thursday, then what is your opinion about this Hungarian national team? And besides football, since you're a very well-educated person, do you have any connection or knowledge in connection with Hungarian culture or Budapest or Hungary?
You tested me there. I don't know. I don't really have any kind of knowledge. I've never been to Hungary. I mean, I've heard Budapest is a nice city. That's about as far as it goes in terms of that. In terms of the Hungarian national team, you saw how difficult they were to play against in the Euros, and they're a solid team. Obviously, they've got a fantastic stadium, and the fans get behind them and make it difficult. So we know that they are a tough team, and you see from some of the results that they got in the group games how good they are. So it'll definitely be a test.
Okay.
Thank you,
everybody. We'll conclude it there. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.